We just trusted the power of community and the lessons we've been fortunate to experience. And that's what's brought us today together to look at ways in which we can thrive and make sense of it and sometimes break free from stuff that didn't serve us. So I'm really, really happy to welcome each one of you to this conversation because I'm certain we're going to gain tremendously from your experience. So welcome everyone, whoever's watching this live and who's going to watch this later. This is a panel discussion on the impact of the pandemic on society and businesses. And we're hearing the voice of our leaders. The moderator of our session is Purnima Shenoy, who is the CEO of Hummingbird Advisors. And I'm really happy to know that she's from my city as well. So we're both in Bangalore right now. And I'd like to welcome our esteemed panelists today to this heart-to-heart conversation. Vijaya Deepti, who is the CEO, Tata Insights and Quants, a division of the Tata Industries Limited. Welcome. Shripad Joshi, who's the President South Asia of PerkinElmer. And let me see who else is in. And we are actually expecting Ravi Kumar JV, who's the Regional Director for Southern India Air India Limited, to join us shortly. So welcome again and looking forward to the next 60 minutes. And over to you, Purnima.
Yeah, thank you so much, Farah. And it's indeed an honor and a delight to be moderating this panel on a topic which all of us speak about so much, the impact of the pandemic on society and business, and to hear the voices of leaders out here. I'll repeat that introduction to them as we move on. So today, Friday, 10th December, 11:30 a.m. India time. If we have a good number of questions from the audience, we can definitely stretch it to an hour.
I'll be happy to share the questions on the chat whenever they come. So Purnima, enjoy the rest of the conversation.
Sure. So I will request, typical hygiene factors, we tell the audience to mute themselves. And if there are questions, please post them on the chat so the speakers can also see it as we go along. And if they are directed at any particular speaker, please put the name there. I will take the question and I will address it to the speaker so they can take it forward from there. The pandemic in 2020 and 2021 has had a major impact on global economies. According to a McKinsey study, supply chain disruptions, inflation, and labor shortages emerge as risks to global domestic growth as concerns of the COVID pandemic decline. The travel industry has been badly affected. New strains of the virus have forced countries and travelers to curtail travel. Industries in life sciences and pharma, diagnostics, food quality and food safety, environment, petrochemicals, energy, and other allied markets have come to the forefront and have had a very important role to play. The pandemic has disrupted the insurance industry and has forced companies to reimagine the entire business as a straight-through digital process without human oversight as an exception. There has been a dramatic shift in the retail product mix from a predominant motor insurance to an emerging need for health insurance, which is disrupting the market. To address today's topic and related aspects, we have two experts here. A third one is trying to log in. He sent me a message that he's having some problems. I'll try to address it as we move forward. Both experts have seen the industry from close and have had to deal with the situation on a day-to-day basis. The panelists are industry veterans. And here, this is a unique opportunity that for the first time that they have come together to speak on the subject. We have Mr. Shripad Joshi, President South Asia, PerkinElmer. I think
everyone. Hello, everyone. Hi, Purnima. Thanks for having me on the call.
Ms. Vijaya Dipti, who is the CEO of Tata Insights and Quants, a division of the Tata Industries.
Hello, Kuruba.
And hopefully we have Mr. Ravi Kumar JV, Regional Director South, Air India, who will be joining us shortly. I'll begin by requesting each of the panelists to introduce themselves, their organizations, and share their perspective on the subject. We'll ask them to go into great detail and share with us, because 2 years cannot be condensed into a few minutes. So I request them to expand and speak on the subject, themselves and the organization. Thank you. Shripath, if you could proceed.
Thanks, Purnima, and I hope I'm audible. And thank you, WAF, for having me on this very important and topical subject. I'm Shripath Joshi, and I head PerkinElmer for India and South Asia. So we are a company that is primarily involved in everything that touches human life, right from life sciences, pharma, biopharma, diagnostics and healthcare, food quality, food safety, environment, and the other allied industries. So basically, we are a company who provide the solutions for all these different industries. And it's my privilege to be on this call today. And a very important topic that we are discussing here, right? The impact of COVID on the society and businesses. And I think the impact of pandemic on society in general has varied at different levels. I think we've had, while the pandemic itself did not really differentiate on whom to infect and whom not to, but I guess we've had a large section of our marginalized people in the society who have probably have to bear the brunt of the impact the most, right? I think people who did not have the privilege to work from home, people who had to depend on their daily wages to make their living, earn their living, I think they really had to have the maximum impact of the COVID. When it comes to businesses, I think it truly tested the resilience of all the companies, right? How resilient you are as a company, what is your ability to withstand some of the unforeseen challenges that you might incur. And I think the companies that have stood the test of this pandemic are the ones that are going to emerge as the companies of the future. And, fundamentally, it has also challenged our working norms, right? I think there are many questions that we all had in our minds in the way we are supposed to be working. But I think COVID has challenged all those norms. And COVID has shown us the ways or the different ways in which we can essentially get our work done and still be successful. And I think the biggest learning, in my view, from this entire pandemic, I'm not saying that we are out of the woods yet, but I think the biggest learning for us is that for many generations to come, probably there are a lot of learnings that we have from the last 18 to 21 months that we are going to carry forward. And it will fundamentally change the way we are going to work in future.
Thank you, Shripath. Would you also like to share with us, you have been based in Bangalore, and how is you, and you're heading a whole region. So, sitting out here in Bangalore, did you have to travel? How did you get to interact with your people? If you could expand a little bit on, it's a tough time for leaders. So maybe you could expand on that too.
I think that's a great question, Purnima, and because it's also a question that I've asked myself a lot in the last 18, 21 months. Now, how are you going to make sure that, you're going to be sitting in the corner of your house and then be in a position to still be effective in reaching out to your people, right? And that has been fundamentally one of the important initiatives that we as an organization took. One thing we wanted to do was be very, very clear in our communication. I think it was about employees. It was about, how do we make sure not every employee in our organization has the privilege of sitting in the corner of your house and working, because there are a lot of people who are actually going to be out there on the field and they can't afford to be sitting at home, because many of them are supporting the customers who are at the forefront of fighting the pandemic, right? Be it the healthcare professionals, be it the pharmaceutical companies, be it the companies who are making those food products that are essential, right? And these are all essential commodities. So it was very important for us, not just from the business continuity perspective, but I think there was a larger purpose here, which was to make sure that healthcare professionals got all the support that they needed during the pandemic. And if they had to get the right kind of support, our employees needed to have the right kind of engagement. They needed to be in the high spirits, and they needed to understand the larger purpose behind what we are doing. And we made sure that we ensured their safety. We made sure that their safety is a priority. And the second thing was to be very, very open in communicating what is working and what we need to do. I think getting that feedback from the employees was very important, just to make sure that they feel good about going out and talking to them. So we did things with utmost transparency. We did things in a manner where we had communication channels very open, not just from me as a person heading the entire organization for South Asia, but the entire leadership, and ensured that we were able to support our people who were majorly the ones who were doing these testings across the country. So that's what we tried to do, Purnima, over the last 18, 21 months. And it has been a tremendous learning. And the level of engagement that we got from people, it was not just about what we have. It was also about the scale of what we wanted to do was so big that we had to mobilize more number of people to be out there. It's not that we knew COVID is coming and we need to have 30, 40 engineers to install and 40 application people to go and support our customers. We had to actually mobilize people from different businesses, and they did it.
Thanks, Shripad. I mean, these are unusual times, and as leaders, one has to do something. There is no book, there are no rules to follow, and whatever you do has an impact, and everything is live, so as to speak. So going from you to Ms. Vijaya of the Tata Group. I mean, Tata Group is known for so many things. Compassion for its employees and kindness, I think, is number one in the list. So, Madam, if you could share with us, your experiences of your company and, the perspective of the Tata Group during these tough times, it would be good. So, please go ahead.
Purnima, the group is very large, very complex, and you've asked me a very interesting question, because right from essential services which Tata Power provides to the steel making which Tata Steel deals with, and the challenges that we have with the retail and so on. I think each company had to evolve its own capability in terms of what the pandemic would mean to them, and how do they really take care of safety of their associates on the ground. So I think companies have done it differently, but most important, I think across the board was the fact that the COVID appropriate behavior had to be dealt with. As important for us was the employee engagement. So one of the things that many of us have done across the group is to enhance the number of channels that we've opened up to our employees, both internal and external. I think the whole mental welfare was as important for us as the physical welfare, and that's something which was really like a tidal wave, if you like, and not just in our company but in many of the companies. And that's something which all of us at the group have been very passionate about. The other thing that we had to do was to see how to March 13th is when my company, we went offline completely onto work from home. But I think we were very lucky because we were in an industry which is predominantly tech, and we could very seamlessly do it over just a day actually. And I think this is the experience that many of the group companies had. The investments that they had been making over the last few years in their digitalization and so on, they could, within a span of a week, most companies were able to go completely, to a work from home. And I mean, I'm really proud of the fact that, whether it's the insurance industry or the steel industry, many of them could do this and do it very seamlessly. As important was also to look at, what was the impact, if there were the continuous testing that was happening, and then we were monitoring, and we had capabilities in some of the group companies who were looking at, is there an exposure to COVID, and in which case, look, how quickly can we mobilize and do isolation, and even provide, on the ground support to the employees. I think these were some of the very, very, that whole ability to very quickly pivot and do it. I think one of the things that we are really proud of is how we have been able to roll out vaccinations for not just the group companies, but all our associate staff. And this was like a group level initiative. And it started off with Tata Consultancy Services, but then every group company, came on board, and we could vaccinate most of our staff actually. And I was quite thrilled about a few months ago when companies were saying, we are 95% vaccinated. I said, look, no, that's amazing. I just can't imagine, that level of vaccination happening, not just for you or the staff of the company, but also for the support services, whether it is the security, the housekeeping staff, every one of them, and that's something which all of us took as our, this thing, that even the contractors, that were there, the families, support system. So anything that we could do to help in this whole vaccination journey. And that's something which, we took up as a war footing, and we've had, vaccination clinics, across not just the cities, but in as many remote parts. And I think here the Tata Trusts actually went a little further, and then they try and built out these vaccination clinics in the Northeast and all that, which were possibly the hardest hit actually in terms of their ability to reach and so on. And that is just on the employee side. And then we all heard of the supply chain disruptions, the challenges that we have had. And many of us had to sit down and rethink on our supply chains, whether it's the steel company, whether the motors and so on. And the other challenge was that when our customers came back to us with some, because of their own disruptions, saying that, look, can you build this out very quickly for us and so on, because everyone wanted to maximize the orders that they had. It was a time where you just couldn't let even a rupee slip actually, so you had to make sure that you could deliver. And then the most interesting thing was we saw how multiple companies came together, how multiple parts of the companies came together. So anything that we could do, we did it. And I think the one of the biggest highlights was where the group set up a hospital in Kerala in less than about 8 weeks or something like that. And there about 5 or 7 companies came together, right from Tata Projects, which was executing the project of setting up the hospital, to Tata Power, to Tata, to Voltas, to just about any company that can do it actually, that can provide the material. Tata Steel provided the steel, whatever. So that's the type of I think oneness and the group that came together. And we saw the Tata Management Training Center, which was like the heart of the group in terms of leadership behaviors, leadership capabilities, which came together, and they went completely digital within the first week of the lockdown. And the entire training programs that they not just did the normal regular training programs, but they started doing other events where they looked at right from personal effectiveness to how do you look at personal well-being, to organizational well-being, to organizational behavior. So the whole gamut of capability that you could think of. It was a very interesting time. And we saw in many of these events more than 1,000 people participating, and that's the way the group came together actually. And this was just not in the courses that the sessions that Tata Management Training Center had. We have a Tata Business Excellence Group, and even in their sessions, we would have a minimum of 250 to 300 people. So people really wanted to come together. They wanted to keep learning during this pandemic time, and that was something which was which we saw as a very different behavior. Normally in the normal course of business, if you get about 50 to 100 participants, you're okay. But I think the work from home or the pandemic or just the need to connect was something which drove people to do this. And there was a very interesting one. I don't know if you've caught this. Mr. Harish Bhatt, who heads the brand for the Tata Group. He actually put out the Tata Stories actually, and he started this off in the first few weeks of pandemic. Actually, I think the first week or second week of April, he started putting out these stories, and every week, every second week, he would have a story out in LinkedIn, And then he also published a Tata Story. So I think, I mean, there were a lot of ways that we were looking at, engaging with people. And I think that was something which, there was a whole resurgence of, I guess, the groupness, the passion, the desire to, not just reach out, within our companies, but outside of our companies. I think that's something which, was possibly the hallmark of this. I mean, I don't know if you've read this, but I used to really look forward to Harish Bhatt's stories on LinkedIn, and the minute that came out, I would be reading that, and it was such an exciting moment. And I think the true grit of the group came through in these times, when we would work with each other to see how we can help each other out, actually. And I think one of the things that our own company we did was to look at what was happening with the spread of COVID, and help Tata Trusts to look at where should they be investing in. I mean, they had already committed to setting up hospitals, setting up ICU, setting up ventilators, all sorts of things. So which could be the potential states where there would be a peak and so on. This was way back in 2020, April, May, actually, and then help them into planning this out. I think there was many such exciting stories where we decided that this was very important for all of us to deal with, and we would step out of our comfort zones if possible, and do the right thing, actually. And that's something which is the essence of the Tata Group, and I'm really thrilled about the way all of us came together. I can go on and on with stories, but I'll just leave it at that.
No, I have questions for you as we go on.
Sure.
I'm very delighted that Mr. Ravi Kumar has joined us. Thank you so much. You got through the initial glitch and you could get in. I think the travel industry and airlines have been so impacted, and this is something nobody has ever seen before. So just to ask you from a broader industry perspective, what happened, when our Honorable Prime Minister announced that last year, that there were going to be no flights. I mean, none of us had ever seen anything like this before. No domestic flights, no international flights. So what was your first reaction, sir?
Ma'am, good morning. Good morning to the panel members.
So your audio is not very good. You need to come in louder and sharper.
Good morning. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Well, good morning to all the panelists. Yes, a sudden stoppage of any service at the first instance is like a shocker to all of us. But having said that, the passenger business was down, but during that phase, the planes were used for making a cargo movement of the essential supplies of medical equipment and various other necessities, which were far more important than passenger travel at that particular point in time. So I guess, it was beyond economic sense, or beyond that, it was more a humanitarian sort of an aid that we started rendering. In fact, the aviation industry as such continued to work even during the pandemic, despite all the constraints that were there. We have virtually imported a lot of equipment around that time, and they were taken to the far end of the country and delivered. So it was more satisfying in that sense of the word. At some point, maybe the economics took a background, but then the national priority and seeing the citizens in a very happier frame of mind, that was the satisfaction that we all got. But yes, having said that, for an initial couple of months, there was no solution for this, except that the government had to keep, they didn't have the sufficient infrastructure to run the health industry. So the sort of movement restriction was the only way they could prevent the spread from happening. So I guess it was tough times, and it continues to be tough times. But then at a later stage, we started introducing bubble flights, and we started getting passengers who were stuck in other countries back. So everything, it's a package. It's not like an individual one-off effort. It was a continuous series of efforts in which the government did help us and pave certain paths for us so that we could deliver to the country as a whole. it was really, I mean, like there are many heart-rending stories where we could really feel that, you know, at the point of crisis, the company, the individuals working in the company, and everybody without fearing for their life came forward and did all these humanitarian tasks which are beyond anybody's imagination. When people were, you know, thinking of or being scared to step out their house, there are people who are willing to come forward and help. And this is the, you know, this is the best crisis management that ever got handled by us as an airline and as a group of companies within the airline. It was the most satisfying experience, and it was recognized by people. Although, you know, many times we are into the realm of criticism for a lot of things, but this was the first time I think nobody did criticize us for this kind of stupendous effort that we had taken in making the things available to the people. The most critical medical equipment, PPE kits, and many other things. You know, it is a whole gamut of things, and our pilots flew into countries like probably we are the first airline which went into Wuhan and brought back passengers who were stranded there. So like that, there are many such efforts that went on. Some got noticed, some didn't get noticed, some did get printed. But yes, at the hearts of the people who traveled in those flights, it was heartwarming for them to be back safely in their country and being taken good care of. I think we have done our bit of to the society, and we could do much more. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to ask each of the panelists maybe one or two questions each, very specific questions. And I'll request you, so I want us to spend maybe the next 15 minutes, two questions for each of the panelists. So we can leave the last 15 minutes for any audience Q&A. So I'll begin with Shripad. Shripad, your company has been, as you mentioned earlier, your company has been at the forefront of fighting the pandemic globally. What role did your company have in working with the healthcare professionals? I know you've touched on this briefly, but you know, are there experiences unique to India or are they uniform globally? So just share us some of this from the healthcare professionals, you know, people whom we have typically ignored and we take for granted, but who are now our frontline warriors. So if you could share some global experience.
Yeah, so I think, you know, it's great to hear the stories from the rest of the panelists on how, you know, things evolved. And I think in general, what we saw, Purnima, was a lot of goodness coming out from each of the companies, right? Where on one hand, we had all these issues, and on the other hand, we had a lot of these companies coming up with very good initiatives for people. And as I mentioned earlier, when COVID struck, right? If I go back to first week of March, you know, like any other company, we were also figuring out more on how the year is going to pan out and what we're going to do, what our initiatives are going to be. Not that we were sitting on a basket of technologies and solutions which were primarily meant for COVID, right? So we are, of course, a diagnostics company, and molecular diagnostics is one of our smaller businesses, you know, not something that was a primary part. But when COVID struck and when the company realized that, okay, there is this dire need globally for us to provide the right kind of testing solutions for the healthcare professionals across the world, right? So it boiled down to what is that requirement going to be? What is the scale of production that we need to have? What is going to be the scale of sourcing that we are going to have? And even if we are able to build all those things, do we have enough people on the street to actually go put those machines up and running? And then do we have enough people on the application side to actually go and tell people or the healthcare professionals that this is the way you can run these tests, this is the way you can test, this is the way you can interpret the results? But I think that is where, you know, for a company like ours, we were able to realize the latent possibility or the potential that we have within the organization to actually scale it up at that scale. This was not a business that was a primary business for PerkinElmer, except for the fact that we were in diagnostics. but then things happened, I mean, things happened, our multiple factories in the US and in Europe, and then eventually also at India, we were able to build the required test kits, whether it was for the DNA, RNA extraction, or whether it was the PCR-based tests, or whether it was the rapid antigen test that, we've started using once we were through with the second pandemic, and then, second wave of the pandemic, and then we were, trying to look at the, the impact of infection in the large congregations, etc. So I think that's where we were able to put together the products in no time. We were able to get the emergency use authorization from the FDA. Then back home in the country, we had to really go out and reach out to ICMR and the other regulatory bodies, get the products tested. And while this whole thing was going on, we were also trying to build the infrastructure within the organization so that, we have two people to support. Two people can't do the whole thing in the country. I mean, just imagine, coupled with that, we had all these travel restrictions. You can't have people flying from one city to another. But, I think that is where your true resolve and your, as I say, the tenacity as a company comes to the fore. I mean, we would have never imagined that we are actually going to do the video demonstrations of some of these technologies and trying to train some of our people who actually were from a different business. And that's how we had to do it. And that's how we had to build up the scale, because it was not just also about the metro cities, right? It was not just about putting up these instruments in Bangalore. It was also going to Mangalore. It was also going to Hubli, or it was also going to not just Delhi or Chandigarh, going to Karnal, places like that. And we were able to do that. I mean, when I look back, I think it all boils down to, the general larger sense of purpose that I think people started building. I mean, I have so many heartwarming stories when I look back. Our guys, you could not see who it is. They're in the complete PPE kit with glasses. Some of the sales guys going and doing the application work. I mean, they probably would have never imagined, that they would be doing something like that. But we saw such beautiful, heartwarming, stories and the initiatives that the employees were able to take. And it was also reflected, because we had the technologies, we had the solutions, and we were able to reach out to people. We worked with the government of India really to provide millions of rapid antigen tests free of cost that could be used at the, with the vulnerable population where, testing may not be a standard. So I think a lot of these things happen. And, now that the things have settled down, hopefully I've had the opportunity to meet some of these, physicians, healthcare professionals in the last couple of weeks where I went and met. I think they're very, very appreciative of what the healthcare companies did and, the efforts that they took, because if as you rightly mentioned, the frontline warriors did not have the right kind of support coming in from the companies in delivering the products, making sure that they are in time. I think it was a whole, when you look back, it's a whole end-to-end chain, right? I mean, a lot of things were coming from different countries. The custom clearance process had become a lot more seamless. I think the government understood, as Ravi was mentioning, it was getting things in, getting them cleared in time, without any bureaucracy, without any red tape, making sure that they get delivered to the customer. And by the time it gets delivered, there were people to actually set the things up and then hand it over to the healthcare professionals so that they could take care of the actual patients on the ground. So I think this was a sum total of many things coming together, which really helped us as a country to, I believe, notwithstanding some of the challenges that we had during the second wave, but I think we still managed it pretty well.
Thank you, Shri. But I think, we have a wonderful panel here. We have healthcare, diagnostics, we have insurance, and we have the airline industry. I cannot think of a better panel than this. So, Madam, for you a question. What has your organization done differently during the pandemic and now, as the markets are opening up? I'm going to ignore Omicron for the being because we are not sure where exactly we are with it. But just keeping Omicron aside, what would your response be to this question? You're on silent. You're on silent.
Sorry, yeah, I thought I'll start with insurance actually. So it's always very close to my heart. I think when the first lockdown was announced, we were not very sure that we could deliver all processes remote from home and all that. But then, notwithstanding it, we had to make sure that people were working from home, and they had all the accesses to all the technologies, the tools that they needed, and so on. As important for us was to make sure that data was protected, that the field staff where they wouldn't be, and earlier you would go to a branch office or to an insurance office to file your claims actually, and now it had to be done completely virtual. So people would upload through WhatsApp, through any other emails or whatever else, go to the websites and so on. I think that's something which the company could do. Claims through even videos. So if you had an accident, you could just take a video of your car and then upload that, and that was the basis on which the claims were processed. So when there were floods, actually there were drones sent into those areas to actually assess the extent of damage. And because we also knew exactly which were the establishments that were insured, so we could really process that very fast and very effectively. I think the use of technology in every one of these was absolutely critical. More important than just the technology was the service mentality that was there with everyone, whether like Shripad mentioned, the frontline sales, and you didn't know who was actually in what role literally, because there were few people who could do it, and they would do it. If you could go and travel 100 kilometers to help a person to process their claim or to get their medical records, and make sure that their treatments were taken care of and all, you would do that. And that was the spirit that the organization went through. As important was from our own team perspective, that any one of the first projects that we did post the first lockdown was actually to help companies using image technology, image recognition and facial technologies and all that, to see whether they had their PPE kits, right from masks, gloves, everything was through video camera feeds, and we would be able to analyze and say that, look, this person doesn't have the PPE kit, or this person doesn't have the right shoes on, or whatever else. And when this was the way the technology was used, and each of them would have specific identifiers and all that, and so we would know exactly who was there, who was where, and we could also say that, look, there is an exposure here, so first level or second level and so on. And to that extent, we could pivot back very quickly and help the HR teams or the business teams to take actions. I think that was the type of very, very early, and this became like a capability not just for one company, but it was a group capability. So Tata Steel started it off, but they gave it to every one of the companies that wanted it. And I think that's something which we're very proud of, that this was not going to be something where we would have an IP restrictions, and we would say that this is our differentiator and all that. And these were some of the early wins that the group had, that you could deal with all the COVID appropriate behaviors in a very, very seamless manner actually. So I think that's something which again we're proud of. And I spoke about the whole vaccination drives and so on, and the focus that we have had on wellness, especially the mental wellness actually, and the type of engagements that we've had with across the group, and the way that that was actually, when there was so much of dialogue on that, I think it was absolutely unprecedented from a group perspective.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ravi Kumar, I wanted to touch upon the Vande Bharat flights. I think there was a matter of national pride. I mean, my daughter came back by one of them from Frankfurt, and you have so much of comfort knowing that the government and Air India is taking care of its citizens. So could you expand on how this Vande Bharat concept came about and how you went about it?
Ma'am, like I tell you, I think Air India has a history of doing some great things. I think I'll just go back a little bit. I think if you jostle your mind a little at the time of the Kuwait War, we actually went into the Guinness Book of World Record by moving 111,000 passengers over 489 flights in about 89 days. It was one of the biggest movement that we did at that point in time. From then on, as and when the situation has arisen, the government and Air India have been at the forefront in trying to rescue people who are in dire need to come back to the country for whatever reason. There are some who would like to travel on their medical reasons and some who wanted to feel safe and be back home. So in all these endeavors, we have, like, the government has does a bilateral talk with the respective governments and request them for special approvals to bring back the citizens back to the country. And we were among the foremost of all the countries to have done this. And we are very proud of that fact. And just like as you mentioned, this particular feeling that you have, I think it resonates amongst many people who came back safely and were back with their family. Left to themselves in those countries, it would have been too lonely for them. And with so many restrictions on their movement, they would not have been able to achieve it. So I guess it is a joint effort by the government as well as the airline. And in this endeavor of the government to protect its citizens, our pilots and our cabin crew and our ground staff actually rose up to the occasion. At that point in time, one would never have wondered, okay, can this happen? I mean, in normal circumstances, no. But in a crisis situation, I guess we have handled crises and we do know how to handle a crisis. And this has really helped us to garner the goodwill of people. Yes, we have our detractors for many things, but now of late I see that there is a lot of positivity coming from people because they really admired the effort that this company has taken to bring its citizens back to its soil. It's not only Frankfurt, I mean, even from the Gulf, we brought back a lot of passengers. Yes, probably by bringing some of these passengers, the spread of corona did happen, but yeah, I guess it is like, we managed it well. The government, the company, and the citizens and the employees. I think this is the first time I could say people work selflessly to ensure a safe return of people. I mean, this is something that is unprecedented in the history of aviation, I would say, and Air India has been at the forefront. I mean, it's like, it may not be, I mean, I'm not sounding to be boastful, but I would feel that, it's something that was lacking. This pandemic has brought people to be more human and more respecting towards each other. I think this is what the pandemic has taught us all. We now appreciate the services of every single human being because we have realized that every human being is important. I mean, that feeling in between had vanished off, I thought. So the slowdown is definitely helpful because we are going back to our basic roots, which is like, being hospitable to each other rather than being hostile to each other. So I think this pandemic has really brought about good emotions in a lot of people. And, we could see people helping out despite, knowing that it is a very difficult situation. It's been really heartwarming to see these kind of things happen, and the true India and Indians are reflected at this time. I would say we could see a massive change in the attitude of people, attitude towards life, and this little break from a very fast-paced life that we got has really helped us to reevaluate our emotions on various fronts. And I would think this is I think this is the best that could have happened to us. I sincerely think, I wish we continue in the same career and develop this country much faster than what we have done so far and in a more human manner.
That is very touching, sir. I will ask Farah whether we have any questions from the audience, or I will ask one more. I'll do one more round of questions before we end. Farah, are you there? Are there any questions for us or any of our panelists?
So thank you, everyone. I want to say that I've been watching closely. We have a lot of people who are listening to all of you, and I don't see any questions as yet. So I think you could go ahead with the next question.
Okay, so I'm going to just ask, each of the panelists, to basically summarize very briefly. It's been very traumatic, I would say, and also a very kind 2 years where we have seen humanity and we have seen helplessness. So I would ask each of the panelists to maybe summarize in 2 or 3 sentences the last 2 years. And we don't know what 2022 will bring to us, but we can only be optimistic and look forward with positivity. But I'll begin with Shripad, then request Vijaya, and then request Ravi Kumar to just summarize in 2 to 3 sentences that take away from the last 2 years, personal, professional, in any capacity.
I think I would really like to build on what Ravi spoke about, because I think it's so true that the humanity came to the fore during the last 18 to 21 months, and it was so heartwarming to see some of the most beautiful stories of how people helped each other. And it takes us back to fundamentally who we are as people, who we are as Indians. And I think that should not change. I think a lot of concepts that we have around management, around taking care of people, etc. I think somewhere, we are driven a lot by what we think or what we are taught is the right way to do. But I think this pandemic has taught us the right way to do is what we all did together as humans in the last 18 to 21 months. And so I think my biggest takeaway would be to appreciate smaller things in life, appreciate what you have. And I think it's also important to understand helping when there is a need is something that we should continue to do. And I'm talking that more at a personal level, and I think at a professional level, as an organization, as a company, I think what it has taught us is when you set out to achieve something that has a larger purpose than just going after a specific business opportunity, I think it tells you that the human potential to achieve when it matters is immense. And I think it gives us a lot of confidence to look at what we can possibly achieve, and also be in a position to manage the situations probably in a much better way with all the learnings that we've had in the last 18, 20 months.
Thanks, Shripad. I think you put it very well. Madam, what about you? You're on mute.
Sorry, again, I'm on mute. So I just wanted to say that I completely echo what you said, Ravi and Shripad, in terms of bringing the humanness. And I think my mistake, I didn't talk about what the Taj Group had done, where the Taj Sats and the Taj Hotel rooms were made available for first the frontline warriors. As important was even for the patients, actually, so where they could actually stay in isolation at the hotel rooms and all that, which was a very different capability. As important, I think, for all of us was to see how we could create an alternate capability, which was we were also used to a very brick and mortar, very online, not an offline type of a capability. But then, how do we learn to be more virtual, more our ability to strike the rapport, being remote and so on. I think that's something which all of us have learned. And I used to travel every second week or every week, literally to Bombay. And now, suddenly it's, you have that, the luxury of a lot of time on your hand. I think that's something which all of us are dealing with. The whole, I don't want to say it's inertia, but the inability to travel as freely, as easily as we would all do. I think from a personal perspective, that has actually given me a lot of time to go back to my own hobbies, my own interests, whether it was in sustainability, whether it was in health and wellness and so on. And you suddenly realize that you have the time to do all these other things, which you ignored in the past, whether it was just for yourself or for the company or for the society at large. I think that's something which has been the biggest change from our perspective. So I think, how do we really become more digital? How do we really use technology to the maximum extent? How do we really reach out to our customers? And Taj did a beautiful thing with their cumin completely online in e-commerce, but the food there is absolutely amazing, and I'm not sure if you've had it, but I think these were some of the things that happened during the pandemic, because they had these hotels, they had the chefs, they had the capability, and then suddenly they realized they didn't have the business actually, and literally to recover and rejuvenate from that, and I know how difficult it was for many of these, like you said, in the airlines, the hospitality and all that, and literally we would have the chefs coming in and doing demos and doing sessions for our own staff and all that, but we had to keep them engaged. We had to make sure that they felt that they were a part of the wider Tata ecosystem. So any encouragement, any motivation that we could give to these impacted companies, we would try and do it. And I think that's the spirit that all of us came through. How do we support each other? How do we work with each other? How do we help each other to deal with the challenges as they emerge? And how can we make ourselves and our companies and our people better citizens, if you like, actually. So, but it was quite an interesting and fascinating journey for all of us. I hope that we don't have to deal with it too much.
I think you put it very well. As a person, I realized that how much we need to stop being materialistic. And the only thing we needed last year was groceries. All the clothes that we had, or the footwear, or the jewelry, or anything else did not matter.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, so the only thing I saw was how can I upskill myself. I decided to co-author a book, which I wanted to do for decades. I mean, this gave us wonderful time from absence of travel and absence of commute, especially in Bangalore. So yes, on a basis, you had, let's say, so much of time saved to deal with yourself and your personal, personal goals. And I think you captured it very well, Vijaya, when you say this. Ravi Kumar, sir, you have said a lot about the humanitarian angle of AI. Is there anything you would like to add before I wrap up? Because Farah wants me to wrap up. So if you could say maybe 1 or 2 sentences, and I will then wrap up the session.
I just would like to share, with this pandemic, what has happened is, with the movement restriction, our pollution levels have come down, and our breathing has bettered. So our overall health would have improved much better than what we were. And as Madam rightly said, that we had engaged in hobbies which we had long forgotten. So probably, and we had more time for the family for the last 18 to 21 months. And now it's a time, I think, that we all should also move on. Otherwise, we will start a battle at home because we've got to each other's nerves more than what is required, I think. This break was good. We got into getting to know each other, but this long break is not required, I think. Now, I think we better get back to life. And for us, it was, as a travel industry, the more the people travel, the better off we are. So on that note, I am both selfish to that extent that I would like people to travel. And on the other hand, probably, we'll travel more responsibly now, and we will take all the precautions. But travel we must, because that enhances our, life and our thinking and our thought process. So with this, I'd like to conclude. I wish all the panelists a very happy and a safe future. And we are hoping that the airline industry will revive by 2023. 2022 also doesn't look to be very good. But 23, I think we're going to come back with a bang. And we wish all of you should travel safely and soundly. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure being on this discussion. It was very enlightening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Before I end, let me thank everybody. The Global Digital Annual Women Economic Forum, Shripad Joshi, Vijay Dipti, Mr. Ravi Kumar, Lakshmi and Sandhya, who being entrepreneurs were also so very enterprising and supported us all along. Usha, Amin for bringing us all together, and of course, people who were watching the show. So let me end here. I enjoyed the session. I mean, there was so much of good food for thought, and I hope people who go through it later learn from it as I did. Thank you, everybody. Over to you, Farah.
That was brilliant. And I'm looking at what was the insights. Can you hear me? I was listening to, the tenacity of the organizations at this time and the humanity that came out, and these beautiful stories that you shared from your organizations as well as personally. I think it was very touching, and it's also very hopeful as we look ahead. We've learned a lot, and I heard this power of looking at it as throughout this theme of great opportunity, so many ways that we have benefited. So where are we focusing our energy? So it's beautiful. I want to actually thank all of you, and I want to take one screenshot at the end of this. But before I do that, I'd like to first of all thank our panel moderator Purnima for guiding this conversation so beautifully and getting us to have this conversation. And I'm honored to announce an award to each one of you. The Global Annual Women Economic Forum confers on Vijaya Deepthi the award of the Leader of the Decade. Congratulations. And the Global Annual Women Economic Forum confers on Shripad Joshi the award of the Leader of the Decade. Thank you, Shripad. And lastly, the Global Annual Economic Women Forum confers on Ravi Kumar the award of the Leader of the Decade. And I want to share with you that these awards, these digital awards, will be emailed to you within a fortnight. And we really want to say thank you for your contribution to all of us, and giving us this amazing conversation and hope as we look ahead. Thank you. And I'm going to invite you to just get on. We have 2 minutes to end the session, so I'm going to take a couple of screenshots so I can share it back on the forum. So if you're ready, I'm going to click now.
Yeah.
Yes, I got one. I got another. And I wanted to say, if you have anything to share, one word before you close this session from your experience being part of this panel, please share it now.
Positivity.
I think wonderful, meeting people from other industries. I would just say enlightening.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I second you. Good. It was good.
Yeah, it was very nice to hear a different perspective from different industries. It was amazing. Great.
Fantastic. And now we're all connected, so feel free to enjoy the, being on the platform and engaging with everybody else who's there today and in the future. Thank you so much. It's been my honor to be part of
Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye. Bye. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Purnima.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.